Welcome to this Killick Explains video and welcome to part 2 of my financial mistakes series. Not a terribly cheerful title, but this time into middle age, a bracket in which I sit right now. Now, there are some upsides to being about the age I'm at, which I'm not going to reveal on this video, you can guess that, and those include most people hopefully have a reasonably stable job. The enjoyment factor may vary, but they've probably built some capital up, if you like, with their employer, and they're enjoying exercising a broad skill set, ideally in something they enjoy doing. But that's a bonus for a lot of people. They may have decided what family route they want to go down. So when you're young, it's, do I want kids? Don't I want kids? Will I meet the right person? When I meet the right person? Generally speaking, by middle age, a certain number of things have sort of been determined, if you like. I'm not saying there's one model that fits everyone, but those people who thought about having a family and were able to are probably in there right now. And of course, although there's a bit of a trade-off, maybe you've got less energy in, say, your 50s and your 30s, you've hopefully got a bit of wisdom and experience. A bit of hindsight is a wonderful thing. But there are downsides. And I can vouch for all of these. You can feel a little bit sandwiched. Sandwiched between, on the one hand, kids who need developing, funding, nurturing and so on, although they wouldn't thank me for saying all that, and of course aging parents who also have their own demands. So you get the sandwich generation in the middle, and middle age typically brings that, which can leave people thinking, is there anything left for me? There's something for me. I play a game, if you can call it that, with some mates in a pub when we've had a few beers, which is, what amount do you need to clear net every month before you get to buy a beer? All right, not going to give you the number. It's reasonably scary in some cases, but that's the point. There's an awful lot of things that need to come out of the paycheck before, frankly, you get your first round. So, 3 traps to make this journey a bit easier. It's not an easy journey. It's not an easy stage of life. What are the 3 guidelines? Don't overcommit. Easy to say. Okay. When it comes to prioritization, by all means, prioritize others. You may have no choice, but leave a little bit something for you, and be aware of having no safety net. Okay, so let's go through those in a bit more detail. Overcommitting. Now this tends to happen when people don't stay in their lane. They can't help but look over the garden fence, metaphorically speaking, at what are called the Joneses. In other words, it's hard enough managing your own kids, your own parents, for example, managing your own income. The last thing you need to do is to start worrying about what other people have got, how many holidays they go on, how many cars they drive, and so on and so forth. Because some of that could be debt funded anyway. They may not own any of it. All right, so it's important to ignore the Joneses. It's also important to distinguish needs and wants. There are lots of things I might want. Maybe I want a Porsche. Maybe I want to be on holiday 6 months of the year. Maybe I want to win the lottery. I mean, those are not unreasonable things to want, but being realistic, are they the route to happiness, and what do I actually need? And it's really important when you've got drains on your finances going out in all directions, you focus on things that you do need, all right, and then think about what's going to make you happy. Let's say you had a bigger car, a bigger house, that extension, all right, you could take double the number of holidays. How much happier would you be? Now, I'm not denying you might be happier, but sometimes people put a great weight of expectation on assets in particular, which actually, truth be told, they often disappoint on. I never owned a better car than the beaten up sports car worth next to nothing that barely went, all right, when I was very young. No car subsequently, and they've been worth a lot more, has given me more happiness. That kind of makes the point. Now, prioritizing others, be careful here. Naturally, the kids come with their own commitments and anxieties and worries. So do parents. So does your employer. You've got to keep all these stakeholders happy. All right, your boss, the kids, the parents, and so on, partner, spouse, and all the rest of it. But what about you? Leave something in there for you. Okay, and what that something is will vary. It could be that drink down the pub with mates. It could be the round of golf. It could be the occasional weekend away. It could be simply sitting down and reading a book for 2 hours. It could be going on a walk. But you need, without being cliched about it, you need to leave something in there for you, both personally and financially, even if you end up having to budget for it. That's better than literally everything being drained out of your account and thinking, I've literally got nothing left. And safety nets. All right, when you're young, you can get away with relatively few safety nets. You can wing it if you like, but when you've got responsibilities, you can't. So just a few reminders. You need a cash fund in case things go wrong. You might lose a job, you might get ill, all right? You need some cash funding, a rainy day fund. I've covered this in more detail elsewhere. Think about other insurance cover too. Some of it is a waste of time and money, but think about whether a form of life assurance, that's pretty important for most people, critical illness cover, income replacement, have a look at it at least, even if you don't decide to go down that route. And finally, don't forget that if something goes wrong, you have responsibilities. So lasting powers of attorney, which allow somebody else to act for you should they need to, become more important, and as do wills. You know, you need to start thinking about what am I going to do ultimately with the assets I'm accumulating, who's going to benefit and when. Don't leave that in limbo for too long. Okay, not a particularly cheerful note to end on, but for further information on all of those topics, Killik.com/resources has other Killik Explains videos, a set of my how-to guides, okay, with more detail on what I've just said, and also the quarterly magazine Confidant.